So let's just take that deep breath that reminds us of our connection to spirit, to God, to the divine, by whatever name we call it. It is that presence, that energy that is greater than we are, that guides, directs, that orders the universe. And we are here to be the very manifestation of its essence, to be love, to be peace, to be joy, to be harmony, to be truth, to know wisdom, to be light. And so I just give thanks for this morning, for this time together, for uplifting our hearts, for supporting our minds, for expanding our minds and our hearts. Because I know that in that expansion, we grow to be an ever greater demonstration, manifestation, and expression of the One. I know that this service supports, uplifts, and expands every heart, every mind, every hand that comes in contact with it this morning. I'm so grateful for Reverend Lea and her message. I'm so grateful for our musicians. I'm so grateful for our support team. I'm so grateful for each and every person who lends their love and consciousness to this service, to this community, and to the world. And so knowing that this time is blessed, I just give thanks. I take a deep breath. I let go of any residual tension, anxiety, frustration, or angst coming before this time. And I deeply, deeply sink into this time of the sacred, this time of deep knowing, so that we may take that out into the world in this day. And so, knowing that all is well, I let it go, I let it be. And we say together, and so it is. Amen.
With these eyes I will see, with this heart I will be, opening wide, turning inside, I am listening. With this love I will lead, with this grace I will breathe, deepening peace, fear I release, I am ready to receive. Spirit, know my name, call me home, light these darkened days. Oh Spirit, show your truth in all we do. Let love be our legacy. With these eyes I will see, with this heart I will be, opening wide, turning inside, I am listening. With this love I will lead, with this grace I will breathe, deepening peace, fear I release, I am ready to receive. Oh Spirit, know my name, call me home, light these darkened days. Oh Spirit, show your truth in all we do. Let love be our legacy. Light these darkened days, oh Spirit, show your truth in all we do. Let love be our legacy. Let love be our legacy. Let love be our legacy.
Wow, so beautiful. Thank you, Julie. Such a beautiful song, such beautiful words. Good morning, everyone. So grateful to be with you this morning. Let's harmonize our hearts and our minds, just placing our hands over our hearts. And let's just begin by taking some deep breaths. Feels good to just breathe, just taking in those deep breaths. And let's say together, care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. Care, appreciation, gratitude, compassion. As I prepared for my talk today, I reflected on what helps us to connect, what helps us to recognize our connection with all people, with all beings, particularly those that we don't know, those that we don't have a relationship with. It's easy to recognize our connection to one another when there is tragedy, like what happened when 9/11 happened. People were kinder, more compassionate, more patient with one another across the US and across the world. This last year has opened our hearts as well, has it not? Our hearts opened more as we witnessed the devastating effects of COVID, taking the lives of so many of our brothers and sisters, causing us to reflect on our own lives and those we love. It's moments like these when we begin to see more than just our individual selves. We see humanity in a new way. We begin to see them as us and us as them. But this is often triggered by a major event in the world. How do we maintain this open-hearted connection, recognizing our oneness long after the event is over? That's what I'm going to talk about today. My topic is One Mind, Infinite Connections. Author Mark Nepo shared an experience that he had in the aspen groves in the Santa Fe National Forest. And he said this: above ground, aspens grow as individual trees, but below ground, they're enlivened by one interconnected set of roots. They're the most expansive growth of trees to share a common root system. This means that they are one living organism and one living community at the same time. This is a powerful metaphor for how inextricably knit the life of the individual is with the life of the community. What happens to one tree happens to all aspens in the grove. When an individual tree dies, it's as if the grove loses a branch, loses a limb. The entire grove rushes nutrients to the damaged area, the way immune cells rush to the site of an infection. When we can accept that all humans share the same invisible root system, we too can rush nutrients and nourishment to others who are damaged or suffering. I love what he said. because it so illustrates the amazing connection that we all share. As he said, we all share that same invisible root system. Put another way, we share the same mind. In New Thought and Science of Mind, we talk about the one mind, or the mind of God. Now, it's not as though God has a mind, because God isn't human, but there's a consciousness that exists that we are all connected to. You can imagine it as a web of light that moves through the entire planet, connecting us all, every single being. Each one of us are an individual light, and that light is connected to that extraordinary divine intelligence called God. And that light exists within all 7 billion people across the planet. Each of us are a drop in the vast ocean of universal consciousness. We aren't the ocean itself, but we are an integral part of it. We are part of the whole. And because we are all connected, what we do individually impacts all. Because all minds are connected, the thoughts we have form the collective consciousness. And whether we want to or not, it has an influence. Whether we want it to or not, it has an influence on us. And so when we say there is one mind, it means that as we think thoughts, those thoughts have energy. Those thoughts get deposited into the one mind, or the universal consciousness that we all are connected to, and it impacts all. Therefore, the choices we make impacts all. And the reverse is also true. The choices that others make affects us as well. That means that when one suffers, we all suffer. When one dies, like the aspen grove, it's as if we have lost one of our branches, one of our limbs. And it's also true that because of our deep connection with one another, when another human being is suffering, through our thoughts, our prayers, our intentions, we can send nutrients and nourishment to that being. And as we do this, we support all. What we do for ourselves, we do for all. And what we do for all, we do for ourselves. Our commitment to our growth and evolution contributes to the whole. When we choose to love ourselves, we give permission to all to do the same. When we choose to take the high road, it impacts all. When we choose to forgive, we bring more love and more compassion into our heart. And as we do that for all beings. Herman Melville says, we cannot live for ourselves alone. Our lives are connected by 1,000 invisible threads, and along these sympathetic fibers, our actions run as causes and return to us as results. We are all connected. We have always been connected, and we will forever be connected. It isn't just simply the family we were raised in or the family that we've created as adults. All of us are inextricably connected, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. As we look around at some of our brothers and sisters in the world, they are filled with fear, despair, hate, anger. So many of them have completely forgotten who they are and the connection that they share with the divine creator and with all sentient beings. If we want to experience a new earth, a planet of peace, nonviolence, we have to recognize the connection that is there and that our roots are deeply connected to one another. And those who exhibit behavior that makes us want to scream in frustration or fall down in deep despair, we're connected to them as well. On some level, they are crying out for help, because all of us are either an extension of love or a cry for help and healing. We are one or the other in any moment, an extension of love or a cry for help and healing. So when someone is behaving badly, they are merely crying out for help. They're hurting, and we have an opportunity to help them. It's like the aspen tree that is sick and dying, and how the rest of the aspen grove joins together to support that one. We too have that opportunity, and not just an opportunity, but a responsibility. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "An individual has not started living until they can rise above the narrow confines of their individualistic concerns to the broader concerns for all humanity." As we consciously bring love into our heart, we do so for all. As we focus on hate and anger, we do so for all. Imagine a ribbon of light that goes from every single heart, connecting every single heart from one to the other, connecting all of us across the entire planet. Those who create violence in the world have nearly forgotten this connection. If we really understood our connection to all things, we would treat every human being and every creature, no matter how small, as part of us. Have you ever looked up close at an insect? A ladybug crawling on your hand? Or a bumblebee flying from flower to flower? Have you ever noticed the incredible magnificence of each of these insects and the divine intelligence that is there? The same spark of light that exists within us also exists within these tiny little beings. I participated once in a class focused on learning about the sacredness of nature and its connection to the divine. During class, they played for us a sound of crickets chirping all together. And when they slowed it down, it was the most amazing sound. It sounded like hundreds, thousands of violins all playing together. And I remember the teacher saying to us that their sound was an acknowledgement of the divine. It touches me just saying that. They were all bowing in reverence and honoring the divine with their beautiful music. Animals and insects are much more tuned into this energy and the frequencies emitted from the planet and from humanity than humans are. We actually have the ability as humans, but most of us have cut it off. We've closed it down. Birds are aware of this energy, and as they flap their wings, they can actually shift the energy in a particular area. There is intentionality there. We don't realize it, but it is. It's there. Whales travel thousands of miles, and they too play a part in the healing of the planet as they travel from place to place. They are more conscious and aware than we realize. We are all participants in the great healing of this beautiful planet. In the Buddhist faith, they believe in compassion and respect for all beings. They don't kill anything because they believe in expressing kindness and compassion for all living things, down to the tiniest of insects. They recognize the connection that we all share. And in the Native American tradition, there is an incredible reverence for all living things. In the Lakota tradition, they say Matakwiasin, which means we are all related. It's a prayer of oneness and harmony with all forms of life, all forms, all people, animals, birds, insects, trees, rocks, mountains, and valleys. Practitioner Feli Delamini shared a message at the Vista conference that some of us attended earlier this week. And she said this: they say that when a herd of animals is grazing on a field on a hot, sunny day, there comes a time when they must go to the river to drink. Who decides what time it is? They say this is what happens. One animal starts to get thirsty and looks to the direction of the river, and then another and another. When the majority of the herd is looking at the direction of the river, the herd moves. And she went on to say, as I use my thinking mind, as I hold ideas about myself and the world I live in, I am raising my head toward the direction of the river. So the question is, what river is it? A river of love for all humanity and all sentient beings, a river of peace. Knowing the omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent nature of my being, I affirm that I embrace the wholeness of my existence. I embrace the wholeness of this existence. This beautiful message is describing the collective consciousness of humanity. When the collective thoughts are focused on fear and worry and doubt and anger and frustration, the herd begins to move in that direction. All of the thoughts combined influence our own thoughts, and suddenly we find ourselves looking at the direction of the river along with everyone else. And we find ourselves moving with that herd. And so the question is, which river are we looking at? Are we holding our attention and energy on the river filled with peace and harmony and nonviolence? Or are we joining with others around the world looking at the river filled with thoughts of fear and frustration and disappointment? Those who hurt others have lost their way, but they've never lost their connection to the divine. It is always there. It's just been covered up. And I know some of you are thinking, yeah, but have you met this person? Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Because it does appear that some individuals on our planet are so far removed from compassion and love, and they're so focused on themselves, they're completely unaware of anyone else outside of who they are. It's difficult to see that they just can't see it. They can't see their connection to all, that they are part of the entire existence that Feli talked about. But the divine exists within them as well. No matter what their behavior is, no matter what they exhibit, the divine is there within them as well. They may be asleep, but we are not. If you are hearing me say this right now, whether during Sunday service or days or weeks ahead, on some level you recognize this truth. You have the awareness to know the web of life which connects us all. You would have never found your way to this morning right here. You would have never found your way to this teaching if you didn't already recognize this on some level. And given this, those of us who are awake hold tremendous responsibility. And so we have a choice. Do we want to send out more judgment, more fear, more anger, or do we want to be a healing presence in the world and send out love and compassion? Some individuals weren't taught to respect all life. They were taught to believe that they were the superior race and are completely oblivious to the world that exists outside of their immediate circle. The hate, the prejudice, the discrimination that exists in our country and the world was created by humans and has been passed down for centuries. Lies that have been passed down from one generation to the next, to the next, and to the next. Humanity has much work to do to exist as the aspen groves do, but it can begin with each of us. Despite what we see in others, the truth is that we are all connected by a thread of light that emanates from that magnificent divine creator, that creative force that created all things. We can't control others as much as we would like to, but we can use our hearts and our intention to send love and healing to those damaged and dying branches and limbs. Jeshua in the Way of Mastery says, all minds are joined. It means that where you extend forgiveness within the consciousness, within your emotional field to another, whether they are physically present or not, You are extending to them exactly what you would extend to them if they were physically in front of you. Understand then that you are dealing with consciousness. You are not a physical being, you are spirit. And you are intimately linked with all minds at all times. If we are all indeed connected, as Jeshua, the master teacher, talks about, then what do we want to create? What we create impacts all. We have the power to create. What do we want to create? What seeds do you want to plant in the one mind? What do you want to create for our nation and for our planet? Seeds of love, seeds of forgiveness, seeds of peace. Let's say this together. Repeat after me. Today, I plant seeds of joy. And as you say this, imagine planting beautiful energy of joy into the minds and hearts of each and every single being across this extraordinary planet of ours. Let's say this next one together. Repeat after me. Today, I plant seeds of loving kindness. And see and feel the energy of loving kindness dropping into every being, blessing every person. And lastly, let's plant some seeds of peace. Today, I plant seeds of peace. See each and every being moving through the world, feeling peaceful, expressing peace with everyone they meet, creating peace wherever they go. What a wonderful visual. And now once again, see that web of light that is the divine connecting each and every being, including the more than 7 billion people, as well as all of the animals, the insects, the rocks, the trees, the valleys, the rivers, the mountains, all of it. See that web of light that connects us all. We are all related. Mitakuye-oyasin. Let's move into prayer. And so we feel that connection. It vibrates through our being. We feel that deep within our heart, and that light goes out and it connects every single being, every being across this planet, every creature, big and small, from the tiniest of insects to the greatest of mountain ranges. We are connected to it all. And we feel that in our being. And I am knowing that as we go out into our lives, we remember that as we look at the mountain ranges, as we look at the flowers, at the trees, as we look towards the sky, as we look at our beloved, as we look at our beloved and wonderful and beautiful children, as we look at our community, we are connected to all of it. We are connected to those beings who are hurting on this planet. We are connected to those who are suffering. We are connected to those who are filled with hate and anger. We are connected to every single person and being and creature, every living thing. It is who we are. It is what is within us. It is what is expressed from our heart in all that we do. And I am knowing that as we hold this vision in our heart, as we hold this truth right here, right now, as we do this, we are contributing to that one mind. And so with that, we feel gratitude for this opportunity. And with that, we release it. We let it go, and we trust, and we allow, and we say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. Thank you, life. And so it is.